Hey there, in this episode of the series, we will be looking at a travel app UI. So, if you look at the UI, there are 4 category buttons for different modes of traveling, and also there's a list of places corresponding to each category. One of the complications that is observed is changing the category button color to a lighter version of the icon color when selected, and the other is implementing the non uniform list of places at the bottom. So I'll link in the GitHub repository for the project in the description. As usual, I have created a directory for the images and fonts as well as a constants.dart file for storing the constant colors and text style. We'll talk about the places.dart file in a few minutes. If you look at the pubspec.yaml file, I have imported a Flutter package called Flutter Staggered Grid View. We will be using this package to implement the non-uniform list of places. I'll provide a separate link to this Flutter package as well. So we are going to start off our project with an empty blank container. We are initially going to provide it with a padding. So it is going to be a symmetric padding with vertically a padding of 15 and horizontally a padding of 25. And as the child, we are going to give a column widget. So a cross-axis alignment of start, since we are going to align the text towards the start, and the children will be first child will be a row for holding the icon and the profile pic. So the row will contain children. So the first child will be an icon with the value search icon and the size 30. When we hit save, there it is, but there is no response when clicked. For that, we are going to wrap our icon with the widget called inkwell. So we are going to give an on tap function, and there isn't going to be anything in this at the moment, and we are going to provide a custom border called circle border. So when we hit run, there is this ripple effect, but there isn't any space between the icon and the ripple. For that, we can wrap with the default padding. So when we try again, the ripple occurs correctly. Now under the inkwell, we are going to give another widget called circle avatar. So it will have taken a background image. The background image is going to be an asset image, and the path is going to be images slash profile.jpg, and the radius of the avatar is going to be 25. So when we hit run, there it is. Now in order to provide a space between this, we are going to use a widget called spacer in between the inkwell and the circle avatar. What this does is it occupies the space with the flex 1. So when we hit save, it is aligned as we needed. Now under the row, we are going to provide a sized box of height 50, and under this we are going to provide a widget or text where it is going to say hey James. So and the style, text style, so the font family is going to be Poppins, and the size is going to be 17, and the color is going to be a predefined constant color called K gray, which I have defined in the constants.dart file. So when we hit run, there it is. Now under this, we are going to again provide a sized box of height 20, and under this we are going to provide another text saying where would you like to travel today. For this, we are going to give a style called K greeting style. So K greeting style, I have defined it in the constants.dart file. It has a font family Poppins, a weight of 700, a font size 30, height 1.2, and a letter spacing of 0.8. So when we hit run, there it is. Now under this, we are going to provide a sized box of height 20, and under that we are going to provide another row. So this row is going to hold our category buttons. So the children of it will be, first of all, the first child is going to be a row material button. Before we do anything further, we are just going to right click on this, select refractor, and then select extract Flutter widget. So we are going to name it category button. So each category button has its own icon color and its own icon. So let's first of all remove this, and we are going to define some variables. I'll tell you what each will do in a moment. Final icon data icon, final color, final function on pressed, and a final boolean is selected. So since it is final, we need to initialize it in the constructor itself. For that, we are going to say, instead of this, we are going to just use a named constructor. So this is it. Now inside our raw material, we are going to start off with the constraints, which will give the height and width of the containers of the raw material button. So it is going to be a box constraint dot type 4, and inside this we are going to give a width of 70 and a height of 75. So the next thing that we are going to do is give a child. The child will be of type icon, and the icon data will be the icon provided in the constructor, and the size of 30, and the icon color will be the color which is once again given in the constructor. So what happens when the raw material button is pressed? For that, we need to give a property called onPressed. So the onPressed function will take in this function that we have provided in the construction. So onPressed is going to be onPressed. And so in our UI, there isn't any elevation to the category button. So we can give elevation of 0 and a highlight elevation. That is the elevation which occurs when the button is being pressed. So highlight elevation is also going to be 0. So is selected. I'll talk about it in a moment. So inside our row, we have category button. We are going for the first button. We are going to give an icon of icons.flight, and we are going to give it a color of k green, which I have defined in the constants file. And on pressed, it is going to be an empty function for the moment, and is selected. And is selected. It is also going to be false for the moment. So let's see, when we hit run, there it is. We haven't provided any background to it, so let's give that. So by default, we are going to check if for fill color, if the icon is selected. So if the is selected is true, then it is going to give the color we have passed in with the less opacity. So the opacity value for this will vary from 0 to 255, with 255 being the maximum. So let's give it 100. If it isn't selected, we are going to give the default background. So let's see, there we have. In order to give rounded borders, we are going to use shape, and rounded rectangular border, we are going to give a border radius of 15 on all sides. So when we hit save, there it is. Nothing happens actually. So we are going to just copy paste this 3 times for the remaining category buttons. So the next is train, and the next is boat, and the last one is bus. And the color is going to be K blue, K orange, and K yellow. And now when we hit run, there it is. You can change the alignment by going into row and changing the main axis alignment to space between. So when we hit save, it is all spaced equally. Now in order to change the color when being pressed, we are just going to declare a new variable called int current index, and it is initially going to point to the first icon, which index is 1. So whenever the on pressed is being selected, is being pressed, we are going to set state, and we are going to set the state such that the current index now points to that particular icon. So when it is be flight, it is going to point to 1. We are just going to copy paste this into each category button. So when we press train, the index is going to be 2, and for boat it is 3, and for the base it is going to be 4. So then again nothing much happens, because is selected is always false. For that we are going to change. So if the current index equals 1 for the flight, then it is being selected. Similarly for the train, it is going to be current index is equal to 2, then it is selected. Then for boat, current index equal to 3, then it is selected. And finally for the base, if current index equal to 4, it is selected. So when we hit save, see by default the first category button is selected. When we try pressing each, there it is, all as we expect. Now we can just hide the row since we won't be looking at it, and under the row we are again providing a sized box of height 25, and under it we are going to give a text called top destinations, and we are going to give a constant style which I have declared before, called k top heading style. So k top heading style is this: Poppins, font weight 700 and font size 20. So when I hit save, there it is. So we are going to again provide a sized box of height 15, and now our last widget is going to be an expanded widget. It is going to take in a child called staggered grid view dot count builder. So cross axis count, we can set it as 4. That means the entire width of the list is going to be divided into 4 cells, and the item builder is a function which takes in parameters context and index and returns a widget. Let's give it null for the moment. And staggered tile builder tells us how much space each tile should occur. So if we pass it index, it is going to return a widget of type staggered tile.count. So inside this we are going to give a cross axis cell count, that is each tile will occupy a width of 2 cells, and we will check if the index is even. If it's even, then we are going to give it a height of 3, else we are going to give the height of 2 cells. So now going back into our widget which will be returned, we are going to say it's a container. First of all, let me just extract this into a new Flutter widget called place container. And now before going forward, let me first tell you what's in place.dart. So it is a class called place. There are four attributes for it: name, place, image path, and rating. Outside of the class, I have declared a list of place called places. Each item has a name, a place, and image path, which is the URL to the image, and a rating of type double. Going back to main.dart, first of all, let's remove this and give final index and obtain it from our constructor. So, and similarly pass it in here, index. It is going to be the index from the parameter of the item builder, and inside the staggered grid view.count builder, we are going to give an item count, which is going to be our places the length of the list, places dot length, and we are going to give a spacing, a cross axis spacing of 6 and the main axis spacing of again 6. So inside our container, let's first of all just tell you how it will look. So we are just going to give it a light gray and see how it looks. So there it is. I don't think if you guys can see it or not. So let's just remove that, go into decoration. It's going to be a box decoration. There's going to be a color which is going to be gray light, and there is going to be a border radius which is going to be circular and on all sides with 15, and the image background, it is going to be a decoration image, taking an image property which will going to be a network image, and here we are going to give the path which is going to be places of index dot image path, which is the URL path for that particular image, and we are going to give it a fit which is going to be a cover fit, box fit dot cover. And now when we hit run, there it is, but this isn't the final thing. So now our container, we are going to again outside the decoration provide a padding which is going to be a padding on all sides of 10, and we are again going to provide a child to our container which is going to be a column and which will be aligned cross-axis alignment of start. Now let's give children to our column. The first child is going to be the name of the place, which is going to be a text. So text which is going to be places of index dot name. I'm going to use a style which I have already declared in the constants.dart file, which is going to be called k place style. So if you want, this is the style. So when we hit save, there it is. Now below the text we are going to declare a row. We are going to give it children. The first child is going to be an icon which is going to be a pin drop, and the color is going to be white, and the size is going to be 20. Colors dot white, and just after the icon there's going to be a tag. There's going to be an expanded widget which will have a single child of type text. Here we are going to provide places of index and the place attribute. So once again we are going to provide the same style as the name, which is going to be k place style, and when we hit save, there it is. Now under our row we are going to provide a spacer which takes in a space of flex 1, and under that we are going to provide our last widget which is going to be a container. We are provide a decoration to it which is going to be a box decoration. So it will have a border radius of circular on all sides of value 10, and its color is going to be white. So, and we will again provide it with the padding which is going to be on all sides. Let the value be 5, and the child of the container is going to be a row which will take a minimum size. So the size is going to be minimum, and the children, the first child is going to be an icon. So the icon is going to be a star icon with the color k gray, and the second child is going to be a text of, let's give it the size to it as well, let's give it 20, and the second text is going to be the rating. So that we are going to use places, then index, then rating. Since rating is a double, we need to convert it into a string using .toString. So let's see how that is. So there it is. This is the final thing. I hope you guys understood it. If for any doubt or queries, please do mention it in the comments. So thank you for watching and see you in the next. Bye.